So back to Melania. Look, I think there's, what she's pointing out, one, this is not a new story. This is not a new story.
Right. People have been bringing this up about Melania for a long time.
Yeah. Washington Post has reported on this back several years ago, I believe it was. I think what she's trying to point out here, as the immigration policies right now are under fire and under scrutiny, is the inequity that someone who was, I think, dating Trump at that time, Melania Trump, or they were in a serious relationship, something of that nature, gets this seemingly pass.
So Donald Trump's creepy comments about his own daughter were just the warm-up, because what Jasmine Crockett revealed next could rewrite the Trump family tree forever. That's not tabloid hyperbole. The stakes in this story are tangled up in everything from immigration law to DNA evidence to the raw nerves of America's most infamous political dynasty. We're not just watching another public feud between Trump and a rising Democratic star. We're watching the ground shift beneath the feet of the Trump empire itself. And no one, not even Ivanka with all her composure and training, was prepared for what hit at the August 5th, 2025 House Judiciary hearing.
They are now looking, apparently, the Trump administration, at social media in the vetting process. And so she's bringing that up because it could, of course, impact actions taken due to political.
That hearing was supposed to be about visa integrity, a topic that makes most viewers reach for a remote. But Crockett, the Texas congresswoman who's made a career out of detonating live grenades in the middle of CSPAN hearings, took the mic and made sure nobody in the room, or watching at home, could look away. We all know her style: take no prisoners, make it personal, and then drag the skeletons out of the closet in broad daylight. This time, her target was Melania Trump's Einstein visa, the infamous EB-1 reserved for people with extraordinary ability. Crockett cut through the decorum with a single question. Where's the Nobel Prize, the Olympic medal, the Pulitzer? Because last time I checked, Melania Trump had none of those. There wasn't a flicker of doubt in her delivery. She spelled out the legal standard right there on record. Extraordinary ability isn't supposed to mean appeared on the cover of a few fashion catalogs. It means something the FBI or USCIS can actually point to, documented by serious international awards or sustained impact. By any measure, Melania's modeling portfolio didn't fit.
I'm sure he has already so many toys, but maybe what's his favorite toy?
Well, let's play drums.
You want to have drums? What you will have for a birthday?
E.T.'s.
But Crockett wasn't really talking about Melania. She was setting up the real target, Barron Trump. She led everyone in the room right to the edge, and then, with the kind of precision that would make any trial lawyer proud, flipped the spotlight. The first clues didn't come from Crockett herself, but from a flurry of whispers in the gallery, and frantic texts shooting across DC as the hearing streamed live. People picked up what she was telegraphing. This wasn't about green cards anymore. It was about parentage, legacy, bloodlines, the kind of thing that keeps oligarchs up at night. And that's when the DNA evidence surfaced. Not just anonymous gossip, not just an off-the-record allegation, but what insiders claim are actual lab reports allegedly collected from hairbrushes and drinking glasses left behind at various Trump properties. We've learned these samples were tested, retested, and then, according to sources familiar with the investigation, verified by multiple independent labs. The key detail wasn't just whether Barron Trump matched Donald Trump. It was who he didn't match. Those reports, according to people who have seen the results, showed that Barron's DNA didn't match Ivanka's as a full sibling. That's not just an awkward family detail, it's a potential bomb under the entire Trump succession narrative. Up until now, we've all accepted that the Trump kids, for better or worse, are one big, if extremely dysfunctional, clan. But if Crockett's hints prove out, the question isn't just who is Barron's father, it's is Barron even who the Trump family says he is?
There's a lot of things he could be working on, but for some reason, he is constantly focused on me. And personally, I've never met the man. I have no interest in going to the White House and meeting him or
That
talking
might surprise people that you've never met.
I have never met him, but for whatever reason, I live rent-free.
The timing wasn't coincidental. This wasn't some random dig. It came days after Donald Trump went on CNBC, where he couldn't resist another attack on Jasmine Crockett. He called her low IQ and, just for good measure, made a sideways joke about whether she was related to Davy Crockett. It was vintage Trump, punching down, trying to spin attention away from his own scandals. But Crockett didn't back down. She fired back with a claim that, if true, could implode his dynasty in ways no outside legal probe ever managed. She'd already called him a piece of trash on national television, but now she'd turned the lens on the family secrets, the ones that aren't protected by lawyers, NDAs, or even political power.
What is your reaction to what he is saying?
It is absolutely ridiculous that I live rent-free in his mind in a time in which the American people are suffering. It's already been reported on as it relates to the inflation. We know that the job numbers were bad. We know that this big, ugly bill is going to directly harm so many people.
So how does Ivanka fit into all this? The public breakdown didn't come with tears or mascara running down her face. She's not built that way. What we saw was sharper. When the debate stage lights hit, Ivanka tried to hold the line with her usual confidence. She thought a sharp insult would end it, but Crockett's calm was surgical. She let Ivanka walk into the trap. Ivanka hit her with, "You're a bitter outsider," a line that was supposed to sting, but Crockett, never raising her voice, shot back with words that froze the room. "I'm the outsider? Or is Barron..." The audience caught the meaning instantly. This wasn't about party lines anymore. This was about whether the Trump family itself was hiding a foundational lie. At this point, any observer with a pulse could see the drama had moved beyond cable news talking points. In just a few minutes, the conversation about visas, achievements, and immigration had mutated into something much darker. Crockett's gambit had worked. She forced the entire room to grapple with a possibility that, until now, only circulated in encrypted group chats and DC cocktail whisper. If Barron Trump isn't the legitimate son or brother the family claims, what does that mean for the mythos they've built? For the donors who thought they were buying into a purebred dynasty? For the legal documents and campaign biographies that depend on family unity as both a shield and a weapon?
Can I be honest? I think it's the greatest thing to ever happen to the Republican Party.
Insiders familiar with the Trump inner circle say this is the sort of secret that could upend every plan for the next chapter of their public lives. It's not lost on anyone that Trump himself has a documented paranoia about paternity, reportedly demanding DNA tests for his own children in the past, allegedly making Melania submit when Barron was born, not trusting anyone else to handle the process. Friends of Melania have whispered for years about the toll this took on her, how she reportedly lost her temper when Trump insisted on another round of tests. Trump apparently went so far as to hang certificates of proof on the walls of his private office, a trophy display of legitimacy. But according to sources close to the labs involved, even those tests only settled one layer of the story. Multiple labs, new samples, even outside observers, all looking for that 99.9% certainty Trump craves but never really trusts.
It's gone over the line, and I think a lot of the people, look, the Democrats have become radical left lunatics. They have policies that nobody's going to buy. And, I see what's going on in New York. We're going to have perhaps a communist mayor because it's split up. If the people would get together and have one candidate, they'd have, I think, a pretty good chance. But looks like maybe they're not.
Meanwhile, the media echo chamber exploded. Every clip of the hearing, every replay of Ivanka's retort and Crockett's reply shot up the trending charts within hours. On social media, the MAGA faithful lashed out, calling Crockett everything from evil to jealous to low IQ, their outrage more desperate than persuasive. Conservative commentators rushed to Melania's defense, insisting her class and multilingual skills put her above reproach. But even that didn't stop the avalanche of side-eye and speculation about what actually qualified her for an Einstein visa in the first place. The phrase, "the math ain't mathin'," was suddenly everywhere, a new shorthand for the kind of questions Crockett had forced onto the table. And now, with the DNA story echoing across newsrooms, the implications are impossible to ignore. Former associates say this isn't just about embarrassing Trump or his wife. It's about whether the entire succession plan, political, financial, and reputational, can stand up to forensic scrutiny. Industry sources claim donors are quietly reaching out to legal teams, worried about the fallout if Crockett's evidence ends up on the public record. Some are asking whether family trusts or campaign structures would even hold if one of the key players isn't who the paperwork says. Others point to the legacy of inappropriate children, how rare it is for any of them to become lightning rods for this level of suspicion.
And so if there is someone that is evidencing themselves, such as the president, who is going out and says, yes, I will take a $400 million plane from a foreign government, or is engaged in receiving crypto that we cannot track in exchange for, say, giving away chips to Saudi Arabia. No, we absolutely need to understand how these things could cause us harm. Or when he's cozying up to somebody like Vladimir Putin, it's not only a problem for us, but it's a problem for our...
It all keeps looping back to the same questions. Why did Crockett go after Melania's visa in the first place? Why choose now, in front of cameras, with the entire Judiciary Committee as witness? According to people familiar with Crockett's thinking, the real answer is strategic. By setting the narrative around extraordinary ability, she forced the Trump family's defenders into a trap. Either acknowledge the bar was set lower for Melania, or risk defending a process that might have been rigged from the start. The latter, if proven, is a legal time bomb. And if Barron's DNA is the missing piece, it isn't just a family problem, it's a story that could reach all the way to campaign finance boards, legacy media, and even the courts.
Certain speech is not protected, that it does cross over when you are inciting violence, such as what we saw on January 6th. When you are doing what we consider to be a terroristic threat of some sort, where it's a matter of, I'm not just saying it, but I have the apparent ability to carry that out. But me laying out historical facts, just like they don't want to talk about the fact that slavery was real in this country.
Backstage, we hear insiders close to Ivanka were scrambling to get ahead of the damage. One source who's worked with the Trump team before said the panic was palpable. Calls to lawyers, frantic texts to PR specialists, requests for emergency statements that could pivot the narrative back to family unity before the next day's headlines. But none of that landed before Crockett's next move. With the calm of someone holding all the cards, she began to detail exactly how the DNA samples were collected. Hairbrushes left in penthouse suites, drinking glasses quietly boxed up at Mar-a-Lago, couriered to labs whose existence Trump loyalists are now racing to discredit. According to those familiar with the investigation, the tests weren't one-offs. They were run, rerun, and then double-checked by sources outside the original chain of custody.
When we see them trying to chill speech of jokesters, when we're seeing all of this, that is a playbook out of Hitler, and I won't deny it. Like, these are the facts. But one of the things that I've never done that the president has done consistently is called specifically for violence. He has said, oh, beat that one up. He has said those types of things. We know that Charlie Kirk was saying things about who should live and who should.
The media, smelling blood in the water, started dredging up every past rumor about Barron Trump. The oddities, the speculation about his height, his low profile, the way the family keeps him out of the limelight. Snopes had spent months fact-checking every wild claim about him. But this time, the claims weren't pixelated forgeries or AI-generated nonsense. These were reports that, insiders say, can be subpoenaed if anyone pushes hard enough. By the time Ivanka's voice shook on the debate stage, it was clear this wasn't just about protecting her brother, it was about preserving the illusion of control. But as Crockett laid out the pattern, reminding everyone of the timeline, the test results, the repeated denials, the cracks in Ivanka's polished image became visible for the first time. She tried to pivot back to party unity, to reassert the Trump brand, but the audience and the cameras were already focused on the next bombshell. That's when Crockett dropped a line that echoed through the studio. The truth is in the DNA. No need to raise her voice. The science, she implied, didn't care about spin, money, or even power. What mattered now was whether the Trump family's story could survive the daylight. And if not, who else might fall if the cover is finally blown?
Calling out. I think that my responsibility is to be transparent and to be honest. And the reality is that we are living in a time in which this administration and this regime is not interested in making sure that people understand history. We need to understand why they are so problematic. And so I am using that language because it is accurate language when we see the consolidation of power.
And as the hearing broke for recess, the press pool surged around the exits, hungry for a statement from anyone willing to talk on record. All we got was silence from the Trump camp. No tweets, no denials, just the kind of lockdown that says more than any statement ever could. Meanwhile, legal experts were already game planning the next steps, speculating on how a DNA revelation could ripple through courtrooms, campaign offices, and boardrooms nationwide. If the rumors hold, if the labs are real, then Crockett may have just forced the first real crack in a dynasty that, up to now, survived everything from impeachment to criminal indictment by sheer audacity. But before anyone could process the shock, a new set of rumors started swirling. Questions about who leaked the lab reports in the first place, who on the inside was ready to flip, and whether even Melania herself had known about the tests being redone in secret. Some in D.C. claim former Trump staffers are now quietly cooperating with investigators, hoping to trade secrets for immunity before the real storm hits. And just as quickly, the conversation shifted again, with networks and insiders asking if the Barron revelation is the first domino or just the start of a much bigger unraveling. Because if Crockett's right, the Trump family isn't just corrupt, they're built on a lie. The Trump team moved fast because when the DNA story broke, they knew the stakes. Within hours, attorneys from multiple firms were firing off legal threats to the labs rumored to have run those fateful tests. It was a classic Trump playbook move. Sue first, ask questions never. The message was unmistakable. Anyone willing to spill secrets about Barron's parentage would be staring down the barrel of a defamation suit in a tabloid storm. Insiders at two labs told reporters they were told point blank to expect subpoenas and possible raids by private investigators. Just like that, the science was buried under mountains of legal paperwork, non-disclosure demands, and the usual threats of total financial annihilation. But the timing gave away everything. We could see they weren't just worried about a random smear. This was something more, an existential threat to the entire Trump narrative. But it's not like the family didn't see this coming. Way back in 2006, when Barron was just an infant, Donald Trump himself allegedly forced a paternity test. According to sources inside the old White House, he demanded it so aggressively that Melania nearly walked out. He wanted absolute certainty, they say, and when the test came back 99.9%, according to friends close to the couple, Trump didn't just file it away. He put the result up on his wall of pride, right alongside magazine covers, lawsuits he'd won, and campaign memorabilia. It's the kind of move only someone deeply insecure about the truth would make. If he was so sure, why test him at all? Was it classic Trump suspicion, or did he already have a reason to doubt the story?
Jasmine Crockett. Remember what I said? Is she a relation to the late, great Davy Crockett? I don't think so. Jasmine Crockett, let me tell you, before you even ask, she's a very low IQ person. I mean, if we ever had to pass an aptitude test, that's the one should take one because she shouldn't even be in the crowd. So I have no idea what you're going to, but I don't think we should.
Then there's Barron's height, now a media obsession in its own right. We've all seen the headlines, the viral photos at public events. Barron towers over his parents, reportedly 6'7" or even 6'8", still growing, an outlier even by tall family standards. Geneticists and sports columnists alike have commented that this isn't the usual inheritance from either Trump or Melania, whose own families are average height. To be clear, height doesn't prove or disprove anything. But in a world obsessed with dynasties and succession, every oddity becomes another piece that doesn't fit. For Trump's allies, it's a minor curiosity. For his critics, it's just one more chink in the family legend. And then the bomb nobody expected. Sources close to Crockett's camp are now claiming that after the first DNA results, her team went back further. They allegedly cross-referenced Barron's DNA with samples collected during Trump's messy 1,990S divorce depositions, back when the moguls' lawyers ordered swabs and samples for property and custody battles. Here's the twist. Discrepancies. Several insiders with knowledge of the testing procedures say the numbers don't align. It's not a clean match, not the full sibling data you'd expect if everyone's telling the truth. Of course, the Trump family and their legal surrogates deny it all. Officially, no comment. But behind the scenes, operatives are combing through every old file and contact trying to track down what exactly Crockett has, and whether it will ever see the light of a court hearing or a congressional record. But here's where it gets even darker. The DNA bombshell doesn't just threaten Trump's family myth, it connects straight to the scandals that have always swirled around his orbit. In 2023, Trump's own Department of Justice released a memo that tried to put the Epstein controversy to rest, ruling his tragedy a self-inflicted loss, despite appeals from victims and outside investigators who called it a cover-up. At the time, critics said the timing was too convenient, the evidence too neatly handled. And now, with Barron's parentage under a microscope, the whispers are starting all over again. If Barron's real father is connected to the world of secret payoffs and hidden relationships, then the Trump machine's desperate legal fight isn't just about saving face, it's about survival. Covering up a family scandal is one thing, hiding ties to a network as radioactive as Epstein's, that could explain the panic, the threats, the calculated silences echoing from every Trump spokesperson.
AOC, look, I think she's very nice, but she's very low IQ. And we really don't need low IQ. Between her and Crockett, we're going to give them both an IQ test to see who comes out best. Now, I took my test. I took a real test at Walter Reed Medical Center, and I aced it. I got every one of all those questions right.
We see the ripple effect everywhere. Crockett's allies in Congress are suddenly getting flooded with calls from journalists and fixers, all looking for a leak, a slip, a paper trail. Financial donors, especially those who thought they were buying access to the real Trump dynasty, are reassessing their loyalties, if not their bank accounts. Even longtime loyalists are privately whispering about the risk of sticking too close. The cracks in the wall are visible, and everyone knows what happens when the first one widens. In the final moments of that now infamous debate, Crockett's challenge still hangs in the air. She didn't shout or grandstand, she let the facts, or at least the questions, speak for themselves. If Barron isn't Ivanka's brother, who is his real father? She asked. The stage went silent. We saw the tremor run through Ivanka, the uncertainty flash across the faces of the Trump family. For a brief moment, even the audience forgot their party lines. The truth was no longer a question of politics, but of identity. And more importantly, what else is Trump willing to destroy to keep that secret buried? So now we turn it over to you. Is the Trump dynasty about to unravel in real time? Or will the family's legendary survival instincts win out again? Who do you think stands to gain if the truth about Barron and everything linked to him finally comes out? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Until next time, keep your eyes wide open and your secrets safer than a Trump family photo album.